At the beginning of this story, they tell us that Princess Dea, the only daughter of Emperor Freezer. She was 17 years old. The girl looked out the window with a sad look, and someone told her it was time to go to the ball. She really had to leave, but first, she decided to greet her father. The girl thought that her father probably wouldn't come to the ball. Just like last year, the maid said she could go with her. Praise be to the maid Katie. The girl turned to her sweetly and refused, saying she would go alone. Princess Dea's father, Emperor Cyril, was feared by everyone, and they called him the Ice Emperor. He mastered ice magic. He was famous for freezing anyone he disliked, treating his daughter coldly. With an icy glare, he sometimes even tried to kill his daughter. However, before the start of the ball, the princess still went to her father, thinking he didn't love her at all. She thought she would soon be married off. This was the last chance to see her father this year, because perhaps the whole ball was just for show. The girl really wanted him to congratulate her on her birthday, at least insincerely. When suddenly, she was enveloped by fear. She turned to the side bewildered, and her gaze saddened. Dea was pierced by several ice spears. That was her end. The girl touched her wounds, but could do nothing about them. She immediately realized that her father had done it. Cyril was very angry with her, and simply watched her die mercilessly. The girl died thinking her father hated her, and this, unfortunately, was not a lie. The father lifted her slightly and hugged her while the princess thought about freezing everything. The girl was reading a book in which all these events occurred. The emperor simply went mad and froze everything around him. And so one of the worlds disappeared. In reality, the girl bought this book only for the beautiful cover. It's a good thing she didn't read it in its entirety, because this story is hopeless. She returned tired from work. She was also reading a strange book. The only thing on her mind was what she was doing. For 3 years, she had been working in a black office, and today was the 31st day of work. 7 days a week. She was too tired and tried to escape reality. But at some point, she started reading. She was wondering why the emperor cried at the end and destroyed the world. She speculated that only after the loss did he realize how much he valued her. It was a very unpleasant situation because it was already too late. The girl also thought that maybe she had read something wrong. But the truth of the story was no longer important to her because she had to work. As soon as the girl woke up, someone addressed her as Princess Dea. The princess was offered milk, but she didn't understand where she was or what was happening. At first, she thought there was a baby somewhere nearby. She tried to say something, but couldn't, and realized that this same child was her. As a child, she tried to leave, but the girl was transferred to milk bottles even though she didn't want to. She understood that this drink was for the little ones, but her body seemed to really crave it. With joy, she began to drink this milk all over both cheeks. At first, the girl thought she was just overworked and having strange dreams. She also didn't understand why she was called Dea. She had heard that name somewhere, but suddenly she understood where. The baby in the maid's arms heard someone's footsteps and turned around. Judging by the footsteps, she concluded that someone very cold and dominant was coming, and she was even somewhat scared. When suddenly the door is opened by the Ice Emperor Cyril, about whom she read in a book. This emperor was on the cover of the book. He froze anyone who opposed him. His gaze was just as cold. And he is also the one who will kill Dea when she turns 17. She will really be murdered at the end of this story. She only fully realized that she seemed to have become a princess. And that this was not a dream at all. She looked at the emperor with fear and realized that this was how the story of the Ice Emperor began. And her. The emperor approached and raised his hand above the head of the maid and the baby. Both were very scared. The emperor looked as if he wanted to kill her. Circles of ice magic appeared above his head. He looked very serious and truly intimidating. The maid tried by all means to protect the baby and shouted at him, asking what he was doing. The emperor, in a very angry tone, ordered her never to dare contradict him at all. The maid immediately fell silent, but hugged Dea even closer. While the girl thought about how she should die at 17, and not now. The maid bowed and said she didn't know what had happened, but asked him to appease his anger. The maid defended the girl with all her might. She said she was his dear and only daughter. This maid, apparently, was named Katie. She was already defending her in tears. Her hands were trembling, but she still didn't let go of the girl. Dea tried to say something so that he wouldn't dare interfere with innocent people. But only ridiculous baby sounds came out of her mouth. The girl kept saying something. The maid drew her attention, but of course, she didn't understand a word. The princess was already shouting that he shouldn't think that just because he was handsome, he could do anything. She also tried to say that he was handsome, but his character was garbage and would ruin her whole life. The emperor just looked at her in such a way that she fell silent out of fear. He said he saw that she wanted to tell him something, but she had run out of time. He tried again to use his magic to defeat her, when suddenly 2 sweet maids entered, who came to tell Katie that they had finished washing. As soon as they saw what was happening here, they also became very scared. The maids turned to him, but he said nothing. He only noticed how the maid was holding the little one tightly in her arms. All his ice spears fell around him. He suddenly changed his mind about killing little Dea. The emperor left and then only said that they should clean this room. The maid was shocked by so much mercy. The other maids, as soon as the emperor left, started asking Katie if she was okay. And she fell to her knees in fear, with cold sweat running down her face. She already thought she was done for. The little one was also horrified by what had happened. Dea thought about how the emperor smelled of so much hatred, but in the end, he didn't kill her. She felt the same feeling as from the end of the story. After another dream, she realized that she still hadn't returned to her world, and that the maid constantly taking care of her was Katie. 3 days later, nothing had changed. Maybe Nakanona died from overwork for 31 days straight. She understood that maybe she would have to start a new life as Princess Dea. If everything went the same as in the book, then she would die at 17. When the maid told the girl it was time to eat, she was genuinely happy like a child. All the maids gathered around the girl and looked at her. They admired her. She ate very well. Everyone had bottles, joking about the fact that they were afraid some monster might steal them. Dea didn't understand at all at first. She hadn't read the whole book, so she couldn't remember that there were monsters in this book. The maid reassured the princess, telling her there was nothing to worry about, since the castle was surrounded by a barrier and no monster could get through. This calmed the heroine. They gave her a teddy bear, and she was very happy, even though nearby there was an emperor who was worse than monsters. The maid took the girl outside and showed her the Freezer Empire, ruled by Emperor Cyril. The girl looked around and was simply stunned by the beauty of this world. Her eyes swept everywhere. It's a shame that at the end of this story, this world disappears. She didn't remember it well due to fatigue. But she wondered if she could avoid this ending. The baby woke up from the cold when she opened her eyes. In front of her stood Emperor Cyril, who for some reason was looking at her. As soon as she realized what was happening, she immediately became very scared. And she didn't understand at all that he had forgotten it. She thought he had come to kill her. Her blood ran cold when he started approaching her. Dea thought that if the world disappeared after her death, then there was no way out. She thought that kindly grabbing the emperor's hand would help. She noticed that he flinched, which meant her strategy was working. The emperor didn't understand what had happened. He just kept looking at the child. Still, her father is scary. In the original, Dea cried 100% upon seeing him, but not now. But now she is already a girl who has worked 31 days straight. Suddenly, he froze the crib, which shocked the girl. She said she was helpless. And she couldn't do anything. And what else was she thinking? She was a baby. The emperor took the girl in his arms at first. She thought he was trying to kill her again. But the emperor simply lifted her up and observed. Dea was surprised by this. She also stared at him. She didn't understand why he was looking at her like that. She even doubted he wanted to kill her. When suddenly, the emperor simply lifted and kissed his daughter. It was very strange behavior for him. He held the girl tighter in his arms. It was unclear which image of him was real when he kissed her, or it seemed like he wanted to kill her. Time passed and she turned 4. She sat and quietly read a book. The girl asked Katie for help. Who was still taking care of her at that age, she still didn't know how to read some words. The girl learned about the god of good. Amalanches became very happy when she learned something new. Amalanches is a good god of this world. People can use magic thanks to the blessing of this god's spirits. The princess was reading, and suddenly her gaze turned sad. Katie asked what was wrong. Katie said she noticed the girl was reading a difficult book, but Dea found it interesting. Katie was surprised that at only 4 years old, she was already very intelligent. The maid said that such books are mastered only at the age of 10, which surprised the girl a little. The maid was very happy with her success. She started talking early but read too much at a young age. Dea understood that reading books was important. She must acquire a lot of new knowledge to avoid a bad end for herself and this world. The girl read books with great insistence. Her eyes were focused. This is unusual behavior for a child. Katie said reading was still good, but suggested going for a walk, to which the heroine reacted with great joy. The maid wondered if the rosebud had bloomed yet when suddenly someone stood in their way and said it was time. It was the emperor. The maid immediately bowed. With him were the captain of the knights and the chief mage of the empire. She wished they would be blessed by the god of good. The girl saw the same cold look, but she didn't want a bad ending, so she sweetly shouted, "Dad. Thank you for your work." The girl boasted that she was going to the garden now, but the emperor didn't react to her. The cheerful girl told her dad that if she found him, she would bring him beautiful flowers. The girl clearly exuded a kind and positive aura, but Cyril still had the same coldness. He didn't say a word. The chief mage told him they had to go on business, to which the emperor replied that he wanted to freeze everything. The emperor told his daughter not to dare cross the barrier. Dea didn't understand at all how the emperor's mood was changing. All this time he behaved like any emperor's daughter. She hoped her daughter's love would improve the situation, but that doesn't mean the plan didn't work at all. There were already rumors that he was being kinder to her. But sometimes he still gets harsh with her. She already thought it was unlikely she would be saved from a bad ending. But if events change, she should be more careful. The rosebud hadn't bloomed yet, but some kind of black flower had grown. Katie said there were no black flowers, but the girl pointed it out to her. Suddenly, something terrible happened. Katie shouted at the princess to move away. Suddenly, the girl found herself in a dark and terrifying place. She didn't understand what had happened. She started wandering around the area, but it wasn't like the area near the castle. Suddenly, a large black wolf came out towards her. It had up to 3 eyes and growled at her very angrily. She had never seen monsters before and needed to escape urgently. But as soon as she wanted to leave, she tripped and fell. It seemed there was no way out. The girl thought to herself that she really wanted to be saved. The wolf would have eaten her already. It was growling right above her. Suddenly, the wolf was thrown back by ice, and someone stood in front of the girl. This person protected her. Words of sorcery were heard so that this wolf would be frozen, when suddenly it turned into just a piece of ice. The girl watched how this ice with the wolf at that moment simply shattered into thousands of small fragments with just a hand movement. Emperor Cyril was in front of her. Her father was protecting her. He still looked at his daughter very coldly. She was simply scared and could thank him for saving her. The girl began to recount how everything happened, how she saw a black flower and then ended up here. But Dad just told her she was stupid, which surprised Dea. He said there are no black flowers. It was a monster pretending to be a flower. This was something new in the girl's knowledge. The girl saw a pack of the same monstrous wolves behind him and got scared. But she warned the emperor about this. Cyril just said it would be better if they ran away. As soon as he arrived, he immediately started casting magic. He sent many ice spears towards the wolves, which killed them. The girl only had time to think that he was very strong. The emperor exhaled. This was the true power of an ice magic master. How abruptly the girl remembered that he could freeze the entire world, as happened at the end. He continued to say that this way the monster lured her, and dragged her here through distorted space. Dea remembered that there was a barrier in the castle. It was very strange that the monster was there. The emperor simply sighed sadly, and the girl started getting angry because he couldn't explain it to her. Because she was only 4 years old, which means monsters could still get through the barrier. Suddenly, he stood up and started casting some magic on the girl. She felt cold, and it wasn't the same as before. The emperor said that the weak die, their eyes weren't even visible. Some kind of seal appeared over Dea. Surely he didn't come to save her. He said that weak warriors, who know little always end up being victims of others. He really means that she is weak and needs to die. He read a spell that says to get rid of contaminated blood. Ice spears flew towards the girl, which scared her very much. The spears landed next to the heroine, but they didn't kill her. In the end, it turned out that underneath there was a demon whom the emperor was going to kill. He looked at his daughter and realized that she had lost consciousness. She still couldn't see. The girl woke up in her room, where all the maids were waiting for her. They were very happy. They reported that His Majesty had returned with her. It turned out the heroine had slept all day since then. Dea remembered that it seemed to her he wanted to kill her, but why was she still alive then? The girl asked where Katie was and asked to call her. The maid said she couldn't approach her yet. The girl was scared, thinking some monsters had attacked her, but the maid's looks were very strange. It turns out she was accused of not protecting her from danger and was imprisoned. Dea was very upset because she was not to blame for anything. It could be that the emperor ordered this, but it's true, it was his order. The heroine rushed to the maid and shouted at her to allow her to speak urgently with her father so she could call him. The girl said that as soon as she saw the black flower, Katie told her to stay away from it. But that it was her fault she didn't move away. The girl was hysterical from so much injustice. She loved Katie very much. The maid explained that Dea is the only precious heir of this country, and her task is to protect her from everything. And since one of them couldn't do this while nearby, it's no wonder she was punished. Dea still disagreed and said that she should still be told to tell Dad that she wanted to talk to him. However, even after sunset, she still didn't meet the emperor. And she asked the servants if he was busy. He saved her today, so he took a break from work, although she thought he wanted to kill her. But she wondered why he was torturing other people like this, thinking that she would suffer more this way. And think well, the damned sadist. The girl was very angry with him and clung to the blanket. The maid told the girl to hold on, as not only Katie was imprisoned. The girl was very surprised, but also the knights guarding the garden. There are rumors that they will be released in a month. The girl was very upset. The maid apologized for not being able to help, but the heroine told her everything was fine. No one is to blame. Not everyone can just resist the emperor. Dea asked the maid to leave her alone, to which she responded very positively. Before going to bed, the girl thought it was very good that at least they weren't executed. Although it was still not very pleasant. She'll see he's busy. If he can't, she will go to him herself. The girl got out of bed and very determinedly headed towards her dad. The girl thought there should be guards in the hallway who would let her see her father if she asked. Dea, realizing this, looked out the window and tried to make a decision. She looked down. Running away was a good idea. If only she could use magic to make an ice ladder and go down, she could use it thanks to the spirits. The girl tried to master the magic. She stretched out her arms and asked the spirit to give her strength. Just when she thought nothing had happened, her windowsill froze. An icy ladder descended. It was incredible. It was exactly like the one her dad would have made. The girl didn't know how she did it. It was her only chance, so she didn't think about it for too long. As soon as she was on the stairs, they immediately disappeared right under her. The girl was flying down. She didn't know they would disappear so quickly, when suddenly the wind spirit saved her, lifting her into the air. A boy was nearby, asking if the heroine was okay, while the wind slowly lowered her to the ground. When suddenly the boy fell to the ground from exhaustion, the girl got very scared for him and asked him how he was. This was the first time she had lifted anything heavier than a cat. She apologized for it and continued trying to catch her breath. The girl recovered and was immediately glad that he had saved her. She smiled sweetly at him and cheerfully shouted thanks. The boy looked at her, became embarrassed, and thought about how beautiful she was. He continued thinking, but this time about the fact that this is probably what the spirit of light looks like. With such beautiful silver hair. He remembered that only His Majesty and the heiress seemed to have such things in this castle. Could she really be the princess? He decided to ask her if she was Lady Dea, but the girl, seeing a guard passing nearby, covered the boy's mouth and hid with him among the bushes. The boy felt very embarrassed by this, but she only thought that, thank God. He didn't notice. She asked what the boy's name was. He sat on her lap and introduced himself. This was Fei Scout, his grandfather, the chief mage of the empire. The girl knew his family. They were officials and magic experts. Now it was clear to her why he mastered magic at such an early age. She asked him what he was doing here. But the boy was just going to train in magic. He said that on a moonlit night, the power of magic increases. Dea asked why they weren't angry with him for walking at night, but he left secretly. The girl asked him if he could become invisible. He was confused because how did she know that? But when he looked down, he didn't see anyone there. She asked him if he could make her invisible too. This was only possible if they held hands. Without asking, she took his hands, which made the boy very embarrassed, and he told her that he really needed help meeting his dad. Suddenly, someone else approached and asked what they were doing here. This someone ran towards Fei. He was scared, but Dea was even more scared. It was a yellow-haired guy. He put a knife to his throat, but didn't kill him. The yellow-haired boy asked the fairy who he was and why he was with Princess Dea. The princess shouted at him that he was the grandson of the chief mage and asked him to put the knife away. Fei rudely asked the boy who he was and why he was walking in the middle of the night. The boy's name was Ivan Rogue, his father. Captain of the 3rd Detachment of Imperial Knights, Oliver Rogue. He was the son of the knight captain. Fei told the heroine that he was not a knight because he was walking at such a late hour. He justified himself by saying that he had brought his father's things to the dormitory and stayed there for the night. But he couldn't sleep and went for a walk. But Fei objected that he still couldn't walk at night. The princess justified the fairy, saying he went out to practice magic. Ivan asked if he lived in a mage dormitory, and he did. Ivan said he was lying, because instead of training from the hostel, they were going a completely different way. He started catching up with Fei and asked if he had lied to Dea. Fei apologized and said that he was actually just worried about his grandfather, who was currently in prison. Dea was surprised by the fact that the chief mage was also imprisoned. The princess apologized to him, since it was because she was kidnapped, but he said she wasn't to blame for anything. And Van said it was a barrier problem. Fei considered this an insult to his grandfather's magic. They started arguing a lot, but Dea shouted at them that they could be found like this. The heroine suggested that if he was so worried about his grandfather, then it would be easier to convince his father. And she offered to go with him to Ira together. She said she was going to ask him to release all the prisoners. Fei asked her to take him with her. They shook hands. She asked to make her invisible, but Ivan abruptly stopped them. The boy shouted at them to take him with them. Fei and Dea didn't understand at first. The three walked hand in hand to become invisible. The heroine asked if they really couldn't be seen and if they could be heard. But they should have kept quiet. Ivan just kept joking with Fei, saying he hoped he wouldn't spoil the magic. He was supposedly afraid to leave him with the princess. The argument started again. Dad was supposed to be in his office. He was most likely working until midnight. But if he wasn't in the office, Ivan to the dormitory. The boys asked her if she knew where the office was. She was even a little scared. But it was good that she was with them. Fei said he hoped the monsters wouldn't cross the barrier. It's so quiet now, because the mages are inactive, that the princess was scared. She asked him to tell her how to cross the barrier, but suddenly he fell. Only knights and mages know about this, but some high-ranking monsters can pass through the barrier unnoticed. It is very difficult to create a barrier that lets no one through. Mages tirelessly improve it every day, but monsters also devise new ways to penetrate it. An endless race. Faye told the princess not to worry. The barrier not only weakens them, but also warns them of their appearance. And the girl realized where that flower in the garden came from. Therefore, the recent incident was unusual. Even Grandpa Ada didn't know about the monster. And Van said that the night said a person might be behind this. The girl thought maybe. Her kidnapping was not accidental. Then they hid from the guards, sometimes getting lost in the castle. But they still managed to reach Daya's father's office. As soon as they were near the door, she immediately started worrying a lot. They didn't know how to enter. They stood and wondered what to do. When suddenly, they shouted from behind the door that the door was open. And that they could enter. Everyone got very scared, as it was unexpected. Daya was not surprised and thought about entering like that. She apologized and entered. The father continued working and asked his daughter why she wasn't sleeping so late. And what she was doing here. She said she came to talk to him. Her father immediately asked who was with her. As soon as they tried to say something, he stared at them and told them he wouldn't let them speak. And he called them by their names. The girl just looked at him and thought that if he had known them, maybe he wouldn't have scared them. He asked her what she was so eager to talk about that she distracted him from work. But for her, it was very important that Katie and the others were in prison because of her kidnapping. And she wanted them to be released. She claimed they were innocent of anything, but Dad got angry and said these mediocrities couldn't protect the heiress from danger. The heroine fell silent and had nothing to say. The Emperor continued saying that they were to blame. He asked if the boys had forced her to do this. Supposedly, she was talking nonsense. The girl said she met them by chance and that they simply helped her. The Emperor said that walking with the heiress at night was an unforgivable act. The children immediately got scared, and he threatened to put them in prison. Daya asked him not to do this. Her father asked her if she still understood what it meant to be an heiress. He told her to remember that this happens due to carelessness. The whole family is imprisoned for such a crime. He said he needed to get rid of the guards guarding her room. The girl got scared and shouted at him to wait and let her tell. If she did something wrong, then let him punish her, but he was against it, because it would be more effective if he punished everyone. The girl didn't understand this. She was trembling all over and said that if he hated her so much, then he should just let her torment her. Faye realized this and became worried. The heroine shouted that he wasn't protecting her either, only attacking her. And scaring her. The boys tried to calm her down, but they couldn't. She thought only her daughter could scold the tyrant like this. She shouted everything she thought at him, shouted that she hated him. After these words, the Emperor even stopped writing and just looked at her. It seems he was very shocked. Faye and Ivan noticed that he suddenly froze. They were surprised and scared by this. He just sighed disappointedly and said it would be better if everything was frozen. Ivan quietly told the princess that she had better apologize, but she had endured it for a long time. And she couldn't do it anymore. She shouted that as soon as he did something, he immediately got angry, lashing out at everyone around him. She said that if he wanted to kill her, then he should focus on her. The Emperor said he knew that those around him were afraid he might kill her. But if she really thought the same, he said yes, because he attacked her. And at the end of the story, he still kills her. He said that if he wanted to kill her, then she wouldn't be alive. She assumed he liked torturing her, but he didn't argue and simply resigned himself. Suddenly, from behind the door, someone said they knew what the boys were doing here. And he said the Emperor invited the man in. These were the parents of the children. They apologized to the Emperor for them and were willing to take responsibility for not stopping them. Faye asked his mother what she was doing here, and Ivan asked his father. Daya realized they were watching, but they decided to respect the princess's will. The Emperor kicked everyone out because they were interfering with his work. As soon as they left, Ivan received a blow to the head. His father told him that he really thought he wouldn't notice anything. They would talk in the dormitory. Mom Ada told her son that they would also have a serious conversation. Dea said it was her fault and that they should be forgiven, since she was the one who asked them to accompany her. Mom Ada said that His Majesty doesn't know how to express his feelings. She spoke with a smile. But he definitely values her very much. The girl thought he attacked her more often, but Fairy's mother said that he would have frozen her as soon as she entered the office if this hadn't been the case. The girl accompanied the princess to her room. The guards were surprised that she left the room and didn't know about it. Everyone wished her good night. The girl couldn't sleep. She took out a book and started reading. It talked about Cyril Fraise, the first prince of the Fraise kingdom, her father. When he was 10 years old, assassins from a neighboring kingdom killed the entire royal couple of Fraser. After this, the prince took command of the army and attacked the Alburn kingdom. And he achieved a brilliant victory. He annexed several kingdoms and founded an empire. Everyone knows he is cruel and inhumane. He froze everyone who was discontented. The girl read and repeated his words in her head. If he really thinks he wants to kill her, also the girl's words that he values her very much. She remembered the end of the story, and if he didn't kill her and after death, because he loved her so much. He decided to destroy the world. Then it makes sense why he doesn't kill her, but also why he attacks her. As soon as the girl woke up, Katie opened the curtains, and at first she thought it was a dream. As soon as the girl woke up completely, she immediately ran into the arms of her beloved maid. Katie said that this morning, the emperor released everyone who was imprisoned due to the Black Flower incident. Dad fulfilled his daughter's request. Katie knelt and apologized to the princess, but the girl told her not to worry because she was not to blame for anything. Dea, on the contrary, apologized because the maid ended up in prison because of her. In the future, she would be more careful. Katie told her she was very kind and immediately remembered Mrs. Leela, that is, the girl's mother. The maid said she had a request. She dared to ask for something. She asked to be released from the responsibility of taking care of her. The girl didn't understand if she was really afraid of being punished again, but that wasn't the point. She just thought she couldn't protect her properly and felt very sorry. Katie swore to Mrs. Leela that she would protect her at all costs, and the maid was also very kind. She used to be an ordinary worker in the castle, but soon Dea's mother noticed her and appointed her as a maid. Katie married an aristocrat, and Leela helped her get rid of the difference in origin. Then Katie's husband died, and she became a maid again. She recovered only thanks to Leela's support. Then Leela died after giving birth. Katie replaced Dea's mother. After rebirth, her life was so peaceful, only thanks to her, whom she hugged very tenderly. The princess told the maid not to leave. She almost begged because she wanted to stay with her. The girl said that if it was difficult for her, then she could leave, but that she wanted to always be with her. And that she smiled. Katie started crying. What if this happened again? But the girl would learn to behave more carefully. Neither of them wanted to separate. They tried to be together. Katie asked to serve the girl for the rest of her days. The girl saw her father again, but to thank him for freeing Katie. And everyone else. She asked him if he now understood why he didn't kill her. It was hard for her to say out loud that she valued him. He only replied that he was still thinking. He said that since that was all, she should leave. But the girl had one more request. She asked him if she could learn magic like him. But her father immediately got angrier and said it was too soon for her. The emperor said that she is not a sorceress, but an heiress, which means she already has something to do. At least she should learn a little that she is a princess. Well, she wants to make friends. The father asked her again what she wanted to do. She wanted to make friends to learn new information, because they would tell her many things. Her father agreed. He said he would prepare a playroom and friends for her. She was very happy, although she didn't like the way he expressed it. She was very glad that he listened to her, even if it wasn't how she imagined it. But since it couldn't be otherwise, if the games of a 4-year-old girl are exactly like that. She completely forgot that it was Faye and Ivan who acted more maturely. The father asked what she saw, as if she didn't like it, but she just wanted to play with Faye. And Ivan? The father was very indignant. Her father rejected her because she was an heiress. She asked him several times, but he didn't change his mind. She said it was very easy to communicate with them. The emperor said she was persistent and apparently wanted him to kick her out. She sat on the chair, and the girl kept begging, making his eyes play with them at least a little. From her face, it was clear that it was very difficult to resist, but in the end, he allowed it a little. Katie said she never thought the strict emperor would allow her to play with children. Besides, she would meet them tomorrow. Dea was very happy. The maid was very surprised when she learned that she had been released from the dungeon at the request of the princess. And then the long-awaited day arrived. Everyone was very tense, and this is because the princess's father sat down and watched everything insistently. In an authoritative tone, he said that his daughter wanted to play with them and asked them why they were sitting. But how can one sit and play quietly in such an environment? The girl told her father that he could take care of the work, but that he was interested in how they would play. He told them to start playing. Dea said they couldn't calm down in his presence. He asked them if they were going to touch something he couldn't see. But this was not true. The boys were simply very afraid to see him. Suddenly, a servant entered and said he was on an important matter. About the problem on the Mutra border, the girl was delighted. Katie stayed to look after them. Everyone exhaled when Cyril left. Dea apologized for scaring them. Apparently, Dad was not in a good mood today. Faye and Ivan said they couldn't even imagine that the princess would invite them to play together. She wanted them to teach her everything. Ivan noticed that she seemed too smart and didn't get along with her peers. Ivan had younger children compared to the princess. They were still just children. Faye told him not to dare compare Dea to hers. It was rude. Ivan got very angry at these words, and they started fighting again. Lady Dea wanted to know about mages and knights. Faye said she could tell everything about mages, but Ivan is not a member of the Knights Order. Ivan started boasting and saying that everyone in his family had become good knights. The boy started making fun of Faye. He himself would be able to talk about magic. Mostly mages do things related to monsters. They mostly protect the castle, but sometimes go to other places. Ivan said that knights solve problems related to people. The girl asked if knights could use magic. Most couldn't, but the boy heard that the captain could. His sword is enchanted, so he can fight mages. Some say mages are stronger than knights, but Ivan didn't think so. He dreamed of becoming a knight and proving the opposite. Faye said this was unlikely, since mages, no matter how you look at it, are even stronger. They started fighting and saying they would fight when they were older, but the girl laughed at them and told them, as usual, not to fight. Dea really enjoyed spending time with them, and Dad eventually allowed them to see each other once a week. And the fifth time even walk around the castle, accompanied by the guards. They went for a walk in the garden. Today there were 2 guards with them, so it's unlikely they will see that flower again. Ivan said the weather was very nice, and it would be great to sleep there. Faye told the princess that maybe she shouldn't invite this lazy one for a walk anymore. Ivan got angry again. Dea laughed and said she likes watching their conversations. That's why she needs both of them, not just one. The boys were embarrassed. Suddenly, the guard noticed something and started drawing his sword. It was a demon. He hummed the princess's name, defeating all the guards in the process. The guards started trying to protect the heiress, but the monster wanted the heiress's blood. The monster said there were many people in the way and started casting a spell. Suddenly, that same flower appeared right in front of the princess. Suddenly, they were transported to some abandoned temple. Faye said it seems they were transported here, and that this is an approximate formula. And that she got dizzy. They gathered. Since the demon was already here, the boys tried to protect the princess. The monster was clearly hunting Dea. He was very happy to have found her. He started attacking them, apparently because he needed their magic and blood, and Van protected the girl. As soon as the demon knocked down the boy, Faye also started using the wind spirit spell. She tried to return the attack to the demon, but failed. Her magic was too weak for that. The fairy, like Ivan, was pushed back by the monster's tentacles, leaving only the princess. He started approaching her. At this rate, everyone would be killed. The girl asked him why he needed her. The demon replied that flesh and blood were a delicacy, especially imbued with a special power. He looked like a man, but he wasn't. Only Dad could defeat him, the girl, out of fear. She immediately called him asking for help. Suddenly, an ice beam appeared between the demon and the princess. Cyril appeared to help his daughter. He said he had fulfilled her requests many times, but he didn't allow her to leave the castle. Knights and mages also appeared. They immediately rushed to help Ada and Ivan. The emperor noticed the demon's cloak, only him and the Lexeran rebels. The demon laughed and tried to attack the emperor, but he didn't even raise an eyebrow. Libern, the head mage, started using magic, but the emperor told him not to interfere. The emperor ordered everyone to leave and began to summon the ice spirit. The demon shouted that everything was useless, as he would absorb the power of the barrier, then deprive him of his strength, and devour him and then his daughter. Cyril said that if he wanted his power so much, then he would give it to him. The demon couldn't even move after that. The emperor said he was impatient, and since the monster was going to take her, he should take her quickly. The demon froze, and everyone was shocked by his perfect magic. Everyone started cheering him. He ordered him to be taken away and to reveal the whole truth to him. Then he turned to his daughter and asked what was wrong with her face. The girl was in complete shock, but after his words, she simply hugged him and started crying. She cried because she was scared. The emperor also showed his feelings. He knelt down and hugged his daughter back so she wouldn't cry. He didn't know that his arms could be so warm. Cyril turned to Faye. And Ivan. The girl said they did their best to protect her, but he said he couldn't feel the power increasing when she called him. Everyone would have died if it weren't for this miracle. The weak die and do not protect. The boys were very upset by these words. Everyone just kept silent. As soon as the girl returned, Katie was very worried about her. She said she was very worried. The maid thanked the emperor for saving Dea. The girl asked her father. The monster said he wanted her blood. She heard they could enter the castle, especially since she had been attacked before. Cyril kept silent. The heroine asked him if he had really attacked her suddenly to protect her from the approaching monsters. Dad said nothing, just turned to leave. Dea asked him why he hadn't said so before, but then she saw the threat and got worried. And she got tired of her. In the end, it turned out that he showed kindness and affection in such a way that Katie said she hadn't seen monsters, and behaved very rudely. The girl wouldn't have been afraid of him if he had told her everything immediately in the original. The princess died without knowing the truth. She had no idea that the cold emperor loved her very much. The emperor arrived and everyone greeted him. He started saying something. He stood before the captive demon. He asked what he should do with the scoundrel who wanted to eat his daughter. The head mage said that this man kidnapped the princess thanks to the black flower. But his soul had already been devoured by the monster in his body. Even when they caught him, the monster said they should give him the Ice Emperor's daughter. He was a very talkative bastard, according to the emperor. Cyril said he entered the castle using some kind of cunning trick, but it clearly wasn't his idea. The emperor asked who gave him the idea, and he replied that it was Garjulg. Suddenly, he started using some kind of magic. The mage shouted at the emperor to move away. He started to melt. He was probably cursed to suffer when uttering the culprit's name. This is a thick black magic power. He is truly an evil god. They knew that sooner or later he would start hunting them. The emperor asked to call King Lexeran. They drank tea and Cyril apologized for such a sudden invitation. Lexeran is an independent state of the empire. The king is older and has ruled longer. However, his majesty looks more impressive. He is invincible. These were the thoughts of the captain of the knights. The king asked why he was called, but a stranger had entered his castle. And he was wearing this cloak. Cyril said that a mage from his kingdom invaded his castle, trying to kidnap his daughter. This could be considered a declaration of war. The king immediately jumped up. what declaration of war, they were never in cahoots with the monsters. The emperor asked to prove this, but now his country is suffering from their invasion. They despise these monsters and would never do that. The emperor said that, in that case, some monster had taken over the body of his mage. The king apologized for the fact that they were having trouble because of his country. Cyril also said that he too has no connection with Garjalk. The king asked how he knew that name, but the emperor asked him to tell him everything first. Suddenly, the captain left the office and greeted the third captain Rogue. The captain said that Lexarin was innocent. But they learned something interesting. The evil god Garjalg was sealed in Lexarin. This was 500 years ago. Lately, monsters have been attacking more frequently, which means the seal has weakened. God can influence the monsters in the area and is looking for the princess. But the emperor pressured the king, and now the seal will strengthen. This means that the knights also need to become stronger. The captain asked how Rogue's son was, but as soon as he returned home, he was constantly practicing with the sword. The captain told the blonde that he could bring him to the castle, since he was so eager to become a knight. Because he would teach him. 2 weeks passed, and everything returned to calm. Katie tucked the little one in by reading a book. Dea closed the book and agreed to sleep. If she needs anything, she should use the bell. That's what the maid said. Since that day, Faye and Ivan have been very busy. She asks to meet, but they refuse. Both are children of aristocrats. They probably have something to do, but what if they are annoyed? Faye should be in the mage's dormitory. Maybe they can see him. The girl wondered if it would be bad to run away again, when suddenly her dad entered and asked her if she was still asleep. Dad asked her what she was doing at the window. She tried to apologize, but the emperor already understood that she wanted to escape. Now, of course, she knows that he won't kill her, but it's still scary. Dea said she didn't want to run away. She was just thinking about how Faye and Ivan were doing. Dad was surprised that she was so interested in them. They seemed annoyed. Cyril first looked at his daughter and then suddenly picked her up. He abruptly threw his daughter onto the bed, covered her with a blanket so she could sleep, and even stroked her head. He said that now she needed to sleep and that tomorrow she would meet them, still gently stroking his daughter. The emperor tried to make an excuse that it was because otherwise she would run away again. He told her to sleep, but it was difficult to do while he was near. The girl fell asleep. As soon as her father realized this, he immediately left. He still showed her tenderness. The next day, the girl and her dad went for a walk, and she asked Cyril where they were. This was the place where the knights trained. The girl didn't understand at first, because they were going with Ivan and Faye. Ivan trained there. Cain trained him. Apparently, he will join the order in 3 years. Not before Ivan was very surprised to see the princess. The knights knelt down. Cain asked what His Majesty was doing there, and even without security, but she didn't need it. He came to show his daughter how Ivan Rogue was doing. Ivan told Dea that they hadn't seen each other for a long time, that she was very happy to see him, and that he was fine. He apologized for refusing to meet her. He had been training all this time to protect her if something happened. He said he wanted to be stronger. Cain started joking with him, talking about freedoms with the emperor and the fact that he fell in love. Ivan immediately became embarrassed and started making excuses, saying that his sister and the princess were the same age and that he just wanted to protect her like a sister. The emperor threateningly asked him if he was treating the heiress like a sister. The emperor just snorted and said that the boy could continue training. But Dea was bored and that he should come more often. Ivan agreed and invited the heroine to play together again. They went further with Dad, to a new place. It was a laboratory for mages. Faye trained there. She was trained by her mother, and they also knelt to greet the emperor. The princess approached the fairy and told him she wondered how he was, so she came. He also thanked her and apologized for refusing to meet. He admitted that he decided to train all the time to become the best mage in the empire. He also wanted to protect the country and Dea. The emperor was surprised by such a speech. He asked the boy if he really thought he could surpass his grandfather. And him. The boy bowed and said that someday this would happen. The emperor also told him once a week so that he could dedicate time to the princess. He told him not to become a petty person who regrets his time. He agreed and cheerfully said he would no longer refuse. The girl was already walking with her dad at night and thinking about how cool they were. The thanks, as always, were directed to the girl's father for allowing her to meet them. The emperor became embarrassed and turned away. He didn't know how to express his emotions. She asked him if he was still a terrible father who wanted to kill her. The girl took her father's hand and told him that he is an unemotional, clumsy father. And sometimes cold who loves her. Dea remembered that if she hadn't been the princess, her daughter would never in her life have guessed about his love. Cyril looked at her. He wondered why she looked like that and if he could simplify her face. It's not easy to be the daughter of the Ice Emperor. In a dream, the girl had moments from her past life. How they forced her to work, and how she supposedly tried to seduce someone's fiancé. She woke up with a terrible feeling. Katie entered the room and greeted the girl. Dea thought she should get up early today. It turns out the girl was waiting for her score. Katie congratulated her on her 10th birthday. At the ball, everyone came up and wished prosperity to the Friss Empire and health. And joy to the princess. The girl felt a little embarrassed, as she already felt uncomfortable with these formalities. She wondered who killed Dea in the original story. The emperor has never been at the princess's holidays, so since she left the original story. What will happen to her next? Faye and her grandfather came up and congratulated her on her birthday. The grandfather said that she grew up to be a charming girl, and he believes that the emperor also wants to see her as an adult as soon as possible. Faye at that moment told her that the dress suited her very well. Dea was delighted and returned compliments to her friend's clothes. He was very embarrassed. Suddenly, Ivan approached with his father, and they also congratulated the princess on her birthday. Ivan, as soon as he saw Faye, immediately started speaking mockingly, calling him master. Faye responded in the same way. The girl just laughed at that moment, thinking that they always do it like this. The heroine remembered that they were popular now. The fairy was called a young genius mage, and Ivan became the youngest knight in the order. She thought, smiling, that they were eligible bachelors and beautiful too. The emperor told his daughter that he would be away for a while. He turned to the children and told them to take care of her. They bowed and accepted this request. Faye held out his hand to the girl and told her that he would accompany her. Ivan was indignant about this. They started fighting again because of this. Suddenly, a girl, seeing this, got very angry and thought that this was not interesting. Dea separated them and said that Dad asked both of them. So she asks them the same thing. Anyway, the boys were not very happy about it. Suddenly, someone greeted the boys. It was that girl, Lady Marian. She looked very sweet. The girl asked permission to also greet the heiress Dea. She didn't know her and was interested. Marian and her friends congratulated the princess on her birthday. Marian said she was honored that she noticed her, but being surrounded by two boys at a party could lead to rumors. The trio was completely confused about what she was saying. Marian said they could start saying that the heiress likes to walk with men. With a kind of malicious joke, she asked if maybe she really loved him. Maybe the princess is really such a slut that the emperor noticed that something strange was happening. Marian continued joking, but the heroine explained that she had been friends with them since childhood, and that they got along well. The girl was surprised if she really spent time with boys when she was very young. She is so cruel. Dea thought about how she could be insolent with the heiress, either unreasonable or brave. Faye interceded and told her to watch her words. Marian hid behind Ivan and said that Mr. Faye was scary. Ivan defended her and asked his friend to be kinder to the lady, but he was very kind. But she is rude to Lady Day, and he protects her too. Mariana started crying to Ivan that she just wanted to protect the heiress from bad rumors. Ivan didn't know what to answer to this. The heroine immediately realized that she obviously just liked Ivan. She was just jealous, but to be rude to the heiress and even in a public place. And if the adults heard her? She noticed Dad's gaze towards them, but not him. He would immediately freeze her. Dea said that if that was the case, then why didn't Ivan dance with Mariana? Ivan wanted to look after the princess, but Faye was with her. Ivan agreed, but he was angry and called Mariana to dance. The girl was on cloud 9 when he called her. Dea asked Faye who this girl was. She was the granddaughter of Mr. Marco Edgar, a member of the Council of Elders, the same age as him. Faye realized that the heroine had deliberately moved her away from the Emperor's eyes otherwise. He would have frozen her. Faye obviously wouldn't have been against this, but this would have further ruined the Emperor's impression. Faye noticed that since he realized this, he was thinking very maturely. Dea was glad that the girl was with Ivan, and there was nothing to worry about. Faye invited the princess to dance, since they were already here. Dea said she was a bad dancer, but the boy was not surprised and told her to trust him. He summoned the wind spirit. They started dancing. The girl was surprised that the wind seemed to help her. Dea was very surprised that with magic this was possible. She was very happy. The fairy was pleased to hear this, and the guests at that moment were surprised by what was happening. Everyone thought they were very well suited for each other. Ivan was watching them at that moment and somehow got annoyed. Mariana asked him what was wrong, but he said nothing. She asked him directly if he loved the heiress, which embarrassed him greatly. Ivan said he treated her like a little sister, although the Emperor got angry about this. The ball ended, and the princess and the Emperor headed for the exit. The girl was very tired. Dad noticed that this year she was more cheerful, but it was all because of Mariana, when suddenly someone called the girl. It was her, but for some reason, this time she was very happy to see her. At first, Dea didn't understand why she had come, but she was with a gift. And she apologized for her rudeness. Marian handed over the gift confusedly. She whispered in the princess's ear that she had also written a letter, and that she would be very embarrassed if someone saw it. She said all this with an evil smile. The girl left, bowing to the princess and His Majesty. The Emperor immediately asked if anything had happened at the festival. But Dea didn't want to say anything. She wanted to get into the room as quickly as possible. Dea thought that the girl had apologized and maybe she was really good, but Mariana was watching them from the corner and smiling maliciously. Katie was brushing the heiress's hair and suggested she take a bath tomorrow morning. Since it was late, the girl decided to open the gift immediately and go to bed. Katie was also interested to know what was inside. As soon as she opened the box, she was very afraid that the Emperor and the guards would rush in at the scream. Katie wanted to tell her everything, but the princess closed her mouth and said that a beetle had flown into the room, and that she was simply scared. The Emperor asked in surprise if it was all because of the moth. All the guards tried to catch it, but the Emperor froze it with one move. Asking if that was all, Dea said that everything is fine now. He froze it without thinking. She was very scared. Katie asked her why she didn't tell His Majesty. If Dad found out that the moth was a gift, he would immediately freeze Marian. These are just childish tricks. You shouldn't tell him. If there was a centipede in the box, she would faint. Butterflies are nothing. She still doesn't understand that her whole family could be executed. During class, the teacher realized that there was a ball yesterday and the princess was tired. So they finished the class. The girl thanked the teacher and went to have tea. She was completely lost in thought. The maid brought a letter to the princess from Lady Marian, which surprised everyone very much. The letter said that she wanted to be her friend and hoped she liked the butterfly brooch. Katie assumed that the moth was a misunderstanding. Dea didn't even know how to react to this or what to think of her. Letters and gifts started arriving every day. This time she gave her a cat toy. At first, the girl was glad that the moth seemed to be a real misunderstanding. But this toy contained blades with which the princess hurt herself. Dea ordered it to be removed along with the box. And then she approached her father to tell him that he often sends her gifts. The Emperor also received a request to play with the heiress. She didn't mind. She wanted to have a tea party. A couple of days later, Lady Marian arrived and seemed happy about it. Dea arrived. Mariana said she was very happy that she was called. As soon as the princess entered, the girl immediately rushed to hug her, which seemed very strange to her because of her behavior. Mariana apologized for doing such a thing, but Dea said she had been waiting for this day. But it was so cold that she got goosebumps. Dea mentally reviewed all the moments of their relationship. She was rude to her on her birthday, sent her gifts with a trap, and then they had tea together. Dea said that she not only invited her, but also Ivan and Fairy. Ivan said he hoped they would have a good time. Dea thought that if she did something wrong today, he would scold her in front of Ivan. Her beloved were talking about tea. Dea asked what kind of tea it was. But Mariana was very surprised not to know what kind of tea it was and started again. This tea is called Tears of a Moonlit Night. These leaves are extracted in the Matra region. Ivan was surprised that she knew all this. But the daughter of an aristocrat should know. Marian apologized for not bringing tea to the children. Marian said she hates surprises. But who is the princess anyway? She again started talking about how they should talk about a topic more understandable to them. She looked down on the princess so much. Marian asked the girl if she knew the novel The Rose of the Night Dew. It was popular among aristocrats, but she didn't know about it. Then she suggested talking about Goff's painting, but no one knew about it. Dea had something to do, studying, but Lady Marian dismissed it and said it was easy to finish. The princess was already tired of everything. Faye defended the heroine again. He said that she was a princess and studied more than an ordinary noble lady. Marian got angry. Ivan continued. He said that she reads books more seriously than novels. Although she doesn't know about fashion, she knows many languages, the heroine was very happy. Marian got up and angrily invited the heiress to talk alone. Dea told the children that everything was fine. As soon as they left, Mariana immediately said that it was good for her to be under the protection of her pets. Marian thought that she had called her specifically to show her how close they were. This was a bad thing. She realized that the girl decided to complain directly. Evidently, she shouted that it was vile to use her position to win over Ivan. He wouldn't have agreed to be with her if she wasn't a princess, but Dea was tired and told her to shut up. The heroine said that she knew she was jealous, but that Ivan would definitely not love her as she is now. After all, Ivan is an honest man and will not fall in love with a girl who plays dirty tricks. He is kind and doesn't scold her, but he sees everything. The girl pushed the princess. Ivan and Faye heard the noise and headed in that direction. Dea was all wet, and Marian did it in the fountain. Ivan and Faye rushed to all this. Faye immediately ran to the princess's aid. Ivan started asking Mariana what happened, but she pretended not to know. Faye asked if the girl was okay, while Marian talked about how she supposedly jumped into the fountain herself. Suddenly, the emperor came and said that he had seen that they were having fun here, and that they should have tea. The emperor looked at everyone angrily and asked what they were doing in the fountain. Cyril looked at the girl and asked if she had done it. She was horrified. She started lying to the emperor, saying that she supposedly jumped there herself. He asked his daughter if this was true. She felt that if she told the truth, the emperor would kill Marian. While she was unsure how to answer, Marian immediately started crying so they would believe her. She said she didn't do anything, and the princess doesn't want to blame her for anything, and is terrible. Dea was worried that she would be executed, but she did it. Marian was supported by Ivan, but he said he believed that the princess was not the type to do that. The emperor stood behind Mariana and said that she really wasn't like that, and that the girl was an idiot. He told her not to make her laugh, that she wouldn't have acted so petty. But that Marian wanted to set a trap for her. Cyril threatened her with his ice spears and told her that she would answer with her life for insulting the heiress. Dea shouted at him not to kill her. She extended her hand, and a shield appeared near the girl protecting her. Everyone was surprised that she was able to stop His Majesty's ice. The princess was against him, punishing her like that. The girl didn't understand what was happening and why there was such an atmosphere. Her dad walked towards her. He was surprised, and for the first time his face was not so cold. He asked her where she had learned such magic, but Dea didn't even understand what he was referring to at first. At first she thought Faye had done it. The emperor was talking about ice. Faye said that this was not his doing and that the heiress did it. She was very happy with what she could do. She wondered if it would happen again. Cyril shouted at his daughter not to use magic anymore. He picked her up on his shoulder and carried her to the room. And with Marion, he told the children to do it themselves. Once he took her to the room, he helped her change clothes. He brought the table and documents to her room. And for some reason, he started working directly in her room. She wanted to ask him, but there was no way to bother him. She was so worried that she was offended because now he is sitting with her. Or something like that. They even have dinner together now. Before, he only did this in the presence of foreign guests. Why is he doing this now? She looked at him, and so he asked her what it was. If the food was delicious, but she liked everything. Now it was possible to talk to him. Dea started begging him to forgive Mariana, as she is just a child. After some time, she will understand everything. The emperor said this was astonishing naivety. As if she wasn't his daughter, he already had enough to do. The girl wondered why he was always with her now, but she forgot to say that now they would do everything together. It would have been very awkward if they had slept together too, but that's how it was. He said all this seriously. She was already in her nightgown and getting ready to sleep with her daughter. Katie said she was happy for her that her own father had decided this, but that there was nothing good for the heroine. Cyril noticed something was wrong, but she never slept with him. He leaned in front of her and asked if she wanted him to do something for her. The girl, as soon as her dad wanted to touch her, became shy and he went to bed. She still had memories of her past life, but she treated him like a dad. But to be honest, he is a really handsome man. She has the image of a father from her past life. They get along, of course, but sleeping together is completely different. The girl moved away from him, and he asked if she didn't like him that much. But she just wanted to know why he suddenly decided to sleep with her. Dad didn't want to answer this question, and the girl turned over again on the other side. But Dad didn't like the fact that she was sleeping on the edge. She said that way she would give him more space, but Dad moved closer to her and hugged her, because that way she wouldn't fall. Dea said not to press her like that, because she was hot, but he could easily cool her down. He cooled everything down and asked if he could sleep now. The girl thought she was going to have a heart attack. Her dad slept so peacefully. He just slept in his daughter's bed. Not like her. She was lucky. She looked at him and thought he had a very beautiful face. She had never seen such beautiful faces, not even in a past life, if only his character wasn't so icy. But suddenly, she woke up and sat up abruptly. The heroine was afraid that he knew she was looking at him. He simply hugged her with one hand. He started looking towards the end of the room. The girl didn't understand at first, but there was a monster in the corner. Dea was very scared. Her father realized that she could see them now. He remembered that high-ranking monsters could cross the barrier. The emperor simply summoned the ice spirit and killed it. He said it was invisible to ordinary people. It's good that she can see them now. But still, it's not worth using magic. He started to explain that magical power is like bait for them. Suddenly, another monster flew towards the window, but the emperor got rid of it again. Dea asked if the monsters came for her because she used magic at the tea party. But Dad remained silent. After that, Cyril told her to sleep because the guards would take care of the rest. Monsters would come for her if she used magic. Dad stayed with her to protect her, but he remained silent. He didn't say anything so that she wouldn't be afraid to sleep. It was very sweet. The girl lay down next to him and quietly said thank you. As soon as she fell asleep, Cyril immediately got up. The fairy told him that he must reinforce his security. But there were very few knights suitable for this role. But the emperor simply demanded a lot from them. He said he was a spirit and didn't understand that it was difficult to trust people. He believed he would protect her better than anyone, but that's why he is considered a terrifying father who suddenly appears and attacks with magic. It's funny. But now they will hunt her more often, and he won't always be able to protect her himself. He has a powerful force enveloping Dea, but she has it too. He wanted her to be able to see these creatures to protect herself, but her growth was stronger than he thought. He felt guilty that Dea was in danger because of him. In the morning, the girl woke up and saw that her dad was holding her hand. She didn't understand when he had time. She understood that very often he doesn't talk about important things, and she worries. But he is just awkward and calls Dea a lot. As soon as she tried to call Katie, he took her hand and hugged her tightly. This is a very awkward moment for the princess, but in her sleep, she murmured the name Leela of her mother. But the girl didn't like it. She shouted that she was actually Dea. The emperor woke up. He didn't understand why she was shouting. The girl told him that he was confusing her with her mother. But he just asked in what sense that meant. He just hugged her and called her Leela. He resisted and denied it in every possible way. The emperor got up and said he would go ask for breakfast to be prepared. This is the first time she has seen him like this. He really didn't want to talk about Mom. He said that after breakfast, they would go to another room. They were going to the office. It would be faster than dragging documents here. She would be with Dad all day. Dea felt sorry for the teacher. She was very afraid of the emperor. But suddenly, they were told that a letter had arrived from Marion. The emperor immediately demanded that she hand over this letter, read it, and crumpled it, saying there was nothing special there, just an apology. Now she started sleeping in her dad's room. She couldn't sleep because the bed was different, and she was nervous. The girl looked at the mess in the room. It's impossible to say this is the emperor's room, but he just slept there. He talks as if he works in a black office. Although Dad is always working, he doesn't have much time. And so she spent every day in the office and slept in Dad's room. She already thought she was going crazy. She really wanted to go to her room. She missed Ivan and Faye because they hadn't seen each other since that day. But suddenly, the ambassador from Lexarina arrived. He wants to say something. Cyril said he would meet him, and Dea needs to return to her room. The girl was very happy to be able to return to her room, although she was not allowed to leave. She asked the guards to call Katie. She was having a great time without Dad. Suddenly, someone knocked on the door. The girl thought it was Katie, but it was Faye. The boy said that His Majesty told him to keep her company and protect her. She was glad that Dad for the first time did what she wanted. The boy somehow sweetly started leaning against the girl's face, asking if she was tired. The girl said yes, because since that tea party day, she was always with her dad. And since she used magic, monsters hunted her more often. Dea said she was sad about being able to live like this for a long time, but Faye started regretting not being able to protect her. Faye took the girl's hand. She suddenly noticed that he was not behaving as before. He said he would take better care of her, but suddenly she asked about Ivan, but the boy remained silent. Unexpectedly, Faye asked her if she loved Ivan Rogue. He put his hand against the wall while pressing the princess. He didn't want to talk about Ivan because they were finally alone. Dea told him it was strange, but the boy smiled and asked again. The heroine noticed that she had never said those words before or gotten so close. She just said she didn't speak, but she thought, but it clearly wasn't Faye. Dea asked him why he called her princess. He always said madam. The girl looked at her friend in horror, or rather at someone pretending to be him, and asked who he was. Faye just smiled and asked if this was some kind of game. The girl told him not to pretend, because he is not Faye. He no longer hid it and said that he had lost his abilities. This is definitely the strangest guy the heroine has ever met. The girl pushed him and ran out of her room. There wasn't a single guard there. But suddenly, Ivan was there. But he was also a monster, this evil aura. He was just like Faye, although he asked worriedly what happened. The girl escaped from him, he didn't chase her, the heroine couldn't find anyone anywhere. The emperor was talking at that moment. They immediately got down to business. They told him that Gargel broke the seal and destroyed half of the kingdom of Lexarin. And his whereabouts are also unknown now. Cyril was not surprised. He was waiting for this day and also knows that he will come here. He said to move Dea to a room with a barrier, when suddenly a guard appeared with terrible news about the heiress. The emperor was scared and terrified. The guard said that Katie was called, and when she arrived, the heiress was gone. The emperor really wanted to kill them, but the mage stopped him. He said that first he must find the heiress. Siri clenched his teeth. He was very worried. He told Libern to accompany him. The mage said that Lady Dea's aura was interrupted right before the room itself. Most likely upon entering the room, she found herself in another space. The father wanted to find her by her magical power. She seemed to be both near and far at the same time. Something prevented her from being found when suddenly the evil god told him not to interfere, which horrified the emperor. The mage noticed that something had happened, but Cyril didn't say it. Maybe it was Garjulg. The emperor was a little knocked down by this terrible force. His heart almost stopped, when suddenly Faye came running, shouted and asked if Dea had really disappeared. He was very worried. Faye wanted to participate, but an evil god was involved in this, and he did nothing, when suddenly Ivan came running with the news. A large army of monsters appeared on the border. The 4th to 6th squad went there. The mage said he would also send mages there. They also wanted to send the ferry to the border. But Dea was more important to him. Ivan heard for the first time that something had happened. Ivan started questioning Hadda, but his grandfather explained that she had been kidnapped by a possible evil god. The emperor ordered the knights to go to the border. And the mages will take care of the evacuation. Then, if the situation allows, they will also go to the border. The emperor said he would find Deu himself, because in a battle with an evil god, one cannot hold back their strength, so he ordered everyone to leave the castle. Cyril said that Katie must first go to a safe place, because if something happens to her, the princess will cry. Katie was moved by this. The head mage said that everyone present would only be in the way, so he would take them all out of the castle. The children had to protect Katie, while the girl prayed silently for the emperor and his daughter. At that moment, Dea was running up the stairs. All the doors leading outside were closed, and there was no one in the rooms. The monster in Ivan's body asked if it was possible to start catching her. But it would have been the end for her if she hadn't managed to get out. When Mariana suddenly appeared in the heroine's path, the girl was surprised. Mariana said that everyone had disappeared somewhere, and she was the first one who caught her attention. The heroine thought it was just an apparition again. But she realized it was real when Mariana started getting carried away, that she didn't meet Ivan, that she had no hostility. Mariana shouted and asked why she was ignoring her apology letters. Because she was offended, the princess would explain to her, but definitely not now. When suddenly God spoke to them, told them that some kind of rat had headed towards them. And before the ceiling, he would not have allowed it. God told her she should start getting in shape, but the girls immediately started running away from him. When suddenly the demons started attacking them, Dea defended Mariana, but she was injured. They started to get up and recover, but God told them to run, because now he would start attacking harder. Mariana started saying that all this was unbearable, and raised a magic shield. Mariana blinded him, and they managed to escape. It was a magic object for self-defense. Mariana started applying the handkerchief to the lady's wound. She also asked why she protected her. She constantly defended her at the ball, at the tea party, because she always caused trouble. But she didn't want them to turn her into an icicle. The girl bowed and apologized. This time she really felt ashamed. They wanted to look for someone, because all grievances had already been forgot. It's impossible that everyone disappeared from the castle, which means they are in another space. So Dad can find out where they are if he uses magic. Then not only the emperor, but also the monster would know, but it's better to warn as soon as possible. She started using magic. The girl asked the spirit to give her strength and asked her dad to listen to her. The emperor immediately felt her power. The fairy said she found in the cracks between dimensions that she could open the door there. As soon as they arrived, there was a barrier there. They simply wouldn't have gotten there. The evacuation was over. They had to blow it up without fear of sacrificing the castle. But the emperor wanted it that way. He started trying to break this shield. But it didn't work. The fairy said it was wrong, because he was already getting close to Dea. Dad couldn't stand idly by. At that moment, Dea was thinking if he felt it. Suddenly, the demon came and said he smelled very good and asked if they were planning a vacation here. He said this is a delicious magical power, and everything is delicious. He shouted to feast on him, painting him scarlet with blood. Even after learning that the emperor loved her, he couldn't avoid death. Maybe he accelerated his death by distorting this story. When suddenly the emperor appeared all bloody, raising a shield, Dea started worrying about her dad. But he said it was a scratch compared to the pain of losing herself. The heroine started crying, and Dad calmed her down, because that way she wouldn't remember his smile. God just stood up, sighing, because after all he intervened. Cyril asked him what he wanted from his daughter. Then Dea realized that this was an evil god, a top-level demon. In strength, he was closer to a god than a monster. This is the main enemy of humanity. He once destroyed an entire country in one night. He ordered the fairy to protect them. They asked who she was. This is the king of the ice spirits, Low Flow Freeze. She helps her father. Mariana didn't see her, but perfumes are only visible to those who like them. Not even all mages can see them in their lifetime, but Dea is lucky. The heroine told Mariana that only she and Dad could see her, when suddenly something happened. God attacked the emperor. It was very difficult for him to contain his powers. Lo said that she is already helping her dad. She is holding the barrier, because if she moves away, it will immediately break, especially since it was her dad who asked her to. She had never seen such a tough battle. It was clear that Dad had been saving strength for her for a long time. Dea thought that the evil god could only be defeated by fighting with all his might. But the fairy said that even so he could not be defeated. The fairy apologized because she reads thoughts. To defeat them, 3 as strong as her father are needed, but only if he is in perfect shape. Otherwise he will weaken by removing the seal. Therefore, it is very likely that even a single person could take him to the grave with them. The girl was shocked to learn that he was fighting, knowing that he could die. The fairy said that even if her father dies, she will keep her promise and save her. Dea was very sad that her father might die, but she would stay. The heroine was sad that she and the world would remain, but her father would die. All this as a result of her trying to change the plot. She didn't want this ending, she wanted peace. She used her magic. God didn't understand what was happening. She clearly annoyed him with this magic, but the emperor was not surprised. The fairy was also in shock. The emperor stabbed the ice sword into the god. The god said that if he had his original powers, he would have dealt with him. When suddenly something also stabs Cyril, the monster is tired of sleeping. He didn't think he would spend everything he had saved for so long. The girl started worrying about her dad, when suddenly God started saying something. He said that after 7 years, the evil god Gargel will be completely reborn and absorb the Ice Emperor's daughter. He disappeared. The emperor fought to protect his daughter and Marion, but in doing so he exhausted all his strength. 5 days have passed, and he still hasn't woken up. The girl approached him and spoke, but he still didn't wake up. Katie said that almost everything had been fixed here. That day, 2 powerful forces destroyed the spatial boundaries, so the traces of a fierce battle were visible even in the central part of the castle. If Dad hadn't evacuated everyone from the castle, everyone would have died. And yet, magic is a convenient thing. With its help, everything in the castle was restored very quickly. Dea asked the head mage what was wrong with Mariana. She had a fever, but now everything is fine. She was worried about the princess. The heroine asked her to tell her that everything was fine. She was already dreaming of telling Dad that thanks to him everyone was saved. Dea asked why Gargel said he would return in 7 years, but the promise. It is also an oath. He declared to feed on the fear of other people. Dea asked if she should have told someone this, but it's okay, because now there is time to prepare. In 7 years, they will definitely manage to do a lot. She walked down the corridor. And her friends Faye and Ivan saw her. The guard told her to remember who she was talking to. The boys apologized for the suddenness. but she also wanted to talk to them. They went with her and asked how she felt and if the emperor had woken up. Faye asked if she was sure she was okay when she suddenly stopped. The girl was all crying. The boys reacted normally, supported her and let her cry. The girl went out with her friends to the garden. She kept wondering why the monsters hunted her, but an evil god was involved in this. Faye asked if God was strong, but he could be defeated by 3 people like Dad. This was said by her dad's spirit. Faye was surprised that she communicated with the spirit, because this is amazing. She will become a great sorceress, Ivan supported, as he was able to contain His Majesty's magic. The girl said confidently that she had to become as strong as her father to be able to drive God away. Faye said that he would play the role of the third, who would also become strong. And he would help kill him. Ivan said he wouldn't stand on the sidelines because it would be easy for the 4 of them. The girl ran to them with hugs because they supported her so much. Dea sat down and talked with Dad. She didn't want to think about the fact that she became a princess so that he would die. The girl prayed to God to wake up, because for her, he was an irreplaceable person. She still has memories of her past life, so she didn't consider him a real father. But he gives her a lot of love, so she loves him too. The girl asked God for help, and suddenly a bright light appeared. Suddenly someone appeared. It was a girl. She said she was a good god. Her name was Tiaz. The girl knew about her. She started casting a spell on her dad to live. As soon as she finished casting her spell, she immediately disappeared. The girl asked her not to end like this. The goddess said that was her secret. Dad woke up immediately and recognized Dea. The girl immediately hugged her dad affectionately. He was in shock. He admitted that he had a dream. It was a dream about how he died on his 17th birthday. The girl was crying. Gargel was looking for her. He wanted to pass through her, but it was an illusion and he passed through her. He was very angry about that dream, but his daughter told him not to worry because it was just a dream. He loves his daughter. She thought it wasn't him who committed the murder, but apparently in the original he was deceived. In the end, he was overcome by immeasurable sadness when he realized whom he had killed. The girl said that her body recovered very quickly and she was healthy. The emperor wanted to get some air and went out onto the balcony with Dea. He asked her if she was okay, but she protected him. The girl thanked him for saving her. Cyril began to recount that the day Leela gave birth to her, another evil god, Kisa, came looking for her. That god separated the room from the outside world with a barrier. Leela, using debilitating magic, helped the emperor kill the god. But everyone who was there with them died. The girl didn't know that her mother was killed by an evil god, but he simply ordered everyone to be silent. He didn't want everyone to be afraid of God, because then another one would come. Since then, she has become the main reason for his life. He is willing to freeze the world without her. Without regret. The daughter asked him if he loved her mother very much. He defeated Mutra's army, and they gave him the king's daughter. He thought she would give birth to a child with powerful strength. At first he felt nothing for her, but she was very cheerful, and soon he couldn't live without her. However, he regrets taking her as his wife, even though she gave birth to a child with a high concentration of magic. Gods and monsters began to hunt her. He said it was all his fault, so he would kill Gargel even at the cost of his life. The girl shouted no. She asked him not to die. She said she would also learn magic and help him, but he was against it, as it would attract monsters. But this is even good. She will defeat everyone and gain experience, which means she will become stronger. After all, she is his daughter. He was proud of who she was, a daughter, which meant she wasn't a weakling. And she didn't need to be protected. The emperor said she was strange. Even as a child, she always understood what everyone around her was saying. And in front of him, she smiled so funnily and innocently as if she wasn't a child. He was surprised that children grow up so fast. He said he would teach her magic, but it wouldn't be easy. But it wasn't easy for her to be the daughter of the Ice Emperor anymore. She understood why she was reborn. The god of this world wants her to live, and the world too. At that moment, Gargilg sat down and was angry with the Ice Emperor. He dreamed that his strength would become his own. After a while, monsters attacked the people. Suddenly Dea appeared and protected them. She was already quite adult and tall. She could kill monsters. This was the new Princess Dea, completely grown up. Suddenly, a monster flies by and shouts that he has found the Ice Emperor's daughter. He wanted to attack the princess, but suddenly someone attacked him with wind magic. It was Faye, who was already an adult, and asked if Lady Dea was okay. The monster was imprisoned in wind magic when suddenly someone cut him with a sword. It was a blonde boy. It was Ivan. He said there were no more monsters here and that his mission was complete. The girls thanked them for their help. The common people started thanking the princess, but Faye and Ivan were no worse. Tomorrow, there will be a banquet in honor of her 17th birthday. The girl told the captain that they exterminated the monsters and at the same time installed protective crystals. The captains thanked them for their help. Usually strong monsters appear in their path, but their team is praised for its stability. The girl thanked her dad since it was all thanks to him. After that incident 7 years ago, her father began to teach her magic, and the children also asked to be taught. They thought that thanks to training, they could resist the evil god and help them. The heroine asked her dad to train them too. The emperor asked why he should take care of them too, but the more people who can help in the fight against the evil god, the better. Cyril said that he immediately warned that the strength to fight the evil god is not easy to obtain. The training is also not the easiest. Dea asked him how he would teach them. The emperor calmly said that they would have to fight him to the death, and that they would also kill the monsters that came out themselves. These trainings were not the type of trainings that had an individual focus and a gradual level of difficulty. The captain asked if no one was injured and told Ada and Ivan to make sure the princess didn't get hurt. Then Marion suddenly appeared. She started being indignant with Dea because she went to exterminate monsters again. But tomorrow was a holiday, but there were few people and she wanted to help. The celebration was supposed to take place right on her 17th birthday. But because the empire was suffering from the rains, the celebration had to be postponed. Since the same period that Gargel talked about, there have been more monsters and natural disasters have become more frequent. But waiting in fear gives God even more strength. Dea asked Mariana why she had come. She thought the princess would be busy tomorrow and brought a gift in advance. There was a very beautiful scarf, and the heroine really liked it. The boys watched the girls become friends and were happy. Before going to bed, Katie asked the girl if it was a gift from Marion. They immediately started remembering what she gave her when they first met. Katie put the heroine to bed and said she did a great job exterminating the monsters before the banquet. The girl tried not to think about it, but nothing happened on her birthday, which means she was radiant at the banquet. She remembered what happened 7 years ago. But the girl fell asleep, thinking that she was no longer weak and could deal with the evil god. The next day, a banquet began in honor of Dea's birthday. The girl was getting dressed. Katie said she was very beautiful. Suddenly, Dad walked in. He said the heroine was very beautiful and also asked if she was ready yet. Cyril approached her, took her ears in his hands, and suddenly beautiful earrings appeared there. It was a gift from her dad for her birthday. It was very sweet for the princess. She looked at herself in the mirror. She liked them very much. Her father invited her to the celebration. When all the guests came out into the hall, everyone started congratulating her. Dad noticed that she looked somewhat gloomy and asked if she was worried about the evil god. Siri supported her, saying that he didn't feel his aura, so everything would be fine, especially if she smiled. Then the troubles would pass by. Suddenly, 2 of her very good friends approached the girl and invited Dea to dance. They started looking at each other. As if competing, the girl invited them in turn. The boys said that then she would have to decide who she would dance with first. When suddenly, the girl was carried away. It was the emperor. He told them to decide for themselves, but for now, he would dance with Dea. Cyril and the heroine started dancing. It looked very cute. As soon as they danced, Ivan said that they decided that he would dance with her first. But Faye said that she was generally the one who was stronger. But it turns out they haven't decided yet. They started arguing again. But then Mariana approached and asked the girl to pay attention to her. After the banquet, the emperor began to think that nothing had happened. He had a dream 7 years ago where Dea died, so he was afraid. He asked Dea not to worry, but he himself was more worried than her. When suddenly someone attacked Cyril, it was an evil god. At the end of the day, Katie said she had done a good job and should change her clothes. At first the girl thought she was worrying in vain, when suddenly she noticed that everything was frozen. The girl ran to see why this was happening. She was even attacked with magic, but she defended herself. It was the emperor. He was under a spell. He said that this time, he would definitely finish him. He started attacking the princess, but she was able to defend herself. The girl asked him why he was attacking her. Suddenly a spirit appeared and explained to her that Cyril now has the aura of an evil god in his soul. Now he thinks she is Gargel and wants to kill her. Louis was also subjected to the evil god's magic and suddenly disappeared. The girl tried to bring her father to his senses, but it didn't help. Katie asked from behind the door what was happening. The heroine started running away so as not to fight where there were people. Otherwise, there would be many casualties. Cyril did not give up and said that she would not run away. He started attacking her again. As soon as the girl ran out into the hall where all the guests were, she saw that everyone was frozen. It was necessary to find Gargel and save Dad from his magic, but then Cyril appeared. And again tried to kill her. The girl was protected by Faye and Ivan. They were also not subjected to ice magic. Ivan asked if the girl was okay, and she asked him how they felt. They said that a spirit named Lo appeared before them and cast a protective spell on them. They saw the spirit for the first time. Cyril thought that Gargel was creating doubles, said that he would not dare to kill Dea and would finish him with his doubles. The boys asked what happened to the emperor. He had a spell on him. He sees Gargel in them. Although they fought with him in training, but now he speaks very seriously. The emperor started attacking them again. A group of friends tried to defend themselves. They shouted at him that he was fighting with Dea, but he didn't listen. Even after these words, he still tried to kill them, but Dea managed to defend herself. The girl created a barrier, and they tried to knock it down. They tried to defeat him, but he was still stronger than them. The girl could not grasp the aura of the evil god. Suddenly, Gargel appeared behind her and bit the princess on the neck. The girl fainted and fell to the ground. The evil god's laughter distracted everyone from the battles. The boys were surprised by what happened behind them. The god shouted that he was overwhelmed by power. The emperor woke up and saw his daughter in the hands of an evil god. Gargel wanted to eat her completely and was already preparing to take another bite. Suddenly, unexpectedly for God, Ivan cut off his hand. But the girl was not allowed to fall to the ground. Her father caught her. Ada threw God out the window with her magic. Cyril tried to heal his daughter. The boys saw that the emperor's spell had been lifted and went to distract God. Gargel shouted that he wouldn't let him eat the girl. The boys couldn't help but tremble from the power of the evil god. They were preparing for this battle, but it turned out to be even more difficult. God told them not to even expect an easy way out, that they wouldn't just die. Ivan said he was in trouble because he had bitten the princess. Gargel said that he had accumulated a lot of strength during this time. Faye teleported Ivan at that moment. The evil god noticed that he had disappeared when suddenly he appeared behind him and tried to attack him. But he couldn't cut off his head. God gloated that they were naive. Faye also attacked him with wind magic. Garriglick didn't care about all this. He decided to show them that all their preparation was in vain, but for now, he let them entertain him. When suddenly, there were 3 large dogs behind him. The emperor tried to heal his daughter, but the bleeding wouldn't stop. It was all due to the power of the evil god. The girl was happy that he was back to being the same. She couldn't believe she would die like in the original. She wants to avoid all this. She told Dad that if she died, her last wish was for him not to be sad. Cyril shouted how he couldn't be sad after the death of his daughter. The girl admitted to him that she wasn't actually his daughter. The girl told him that she was just reading a book and it ended here, and that in the original, the girl died on her 17th birthday, thinking that her dad hated her. In the original, the emperor despaired and froze the entire world. The day after reading the book, she turned out to be Princess Dea in this world. She did everything possible to avoid it. It turns out she is mistaken, that he hates her. He was just protecting her. He turned out to be a good father who sincerely loved his daughter and tried very hard to avoid death and the destruction of the world. Although she did everything differently, she didn't seem able to avoid death at 17. It became clear to Cyril why she always behaved so strangely. But then it turns out that he allowed Leela to die twice and said that losing Dea was equivalent to the end of the world for him. Cyril said that, if he wants this not to happen, then he shouldn't tolerate her death, she shouldn't die before him. The girl fainted, thinking that he was right and that she shouldn't die. Dea was in some kind of cage. She didn't understand what happened to her and where she ended up. She couldn't believe her past life had been so difficult, and that now she would die so absurdly. She couldn't allow it. She shouted that she would change the ending, when suddenly a good god appeared and told her to live. The princess jumped up, which surprised Cyril. Icy wings grew on Dea, and Dad didn't even understand what was happening to his beloved daughter. Faye and Ivan continued to fight the evil god. He, apparently, had not run out of energy at all. His strength did not end. Garjulg said he was tired of playing with them and ordered his dogs to devour them. Suddenly, the emperor came to the rescue. He threw ice into the wolf's mouth with the words that if they were hungry, they should eat the ice. Dea came with Cyril, asked the boys how they were doing, and apologized for the delay. The girl's wound healed, and the evil god realized that she had received a blessing, which means that she was somehow special. Now he wants to eat her even more. The emperor asked if they still had strength. They were not going to give up. Cyril was creating a barrier, and Dea had to attack with all her power. Dea attacked. She would freeze him like the monsters. The evil god said that the emperor was a fool, that he created a barrier to protect the country. And his attacks became boring. He said that one must fight him and be willing to sacrifice the empire. This is the beginning of the end, according to Garjul. He began to attack them with a cloud of dark energy, darkness itself. His whole body was paralyzed. The emperor could barely hold the barrier. He spent 7 years gathering people's fears and despair to create this, including their fear of the rebirth of the evil god Garjulg. Once this ball falls to the ground, the entire empire will be plunged into darkness. Then the darkness will envelop the whole world. Dea received the blessing of avalanches, so she will not disappear into the darkness. He invited Dea to surrender in exchange for saving the world, but everyone dissuaded her, because he was not sure he would keep his promise, and without the heroine, the world would perish anyway. Faye encouraged the girl that they would save this world together, and that they should not give up. They disagreed, so the evil god was preparing to turn them into darkness, along with the whole country. The girl understood that the boys were running out of strength, and Dad was barely holding the barrier. And it was difficult for her. But in a past life, work was harder, but now she has strength. Butterflies flew again, like 7 years ago, they began to heal all the allies. And to interfere with Garjulg. They shouted at him that they would not allow him to do as he pleased. Chains grabbed the enemy, and then Ivan lunged at him to cut off his head. As soon as he was headless, the emperor said he would regret going after his daughter. He imprisoned him in ice, but the darkness was still there. The children had no strength. Cyril told his daughter to cover the country with a barrier, and he would freeze the darkness. The emperor said he would defend his country and do everything possible to protect everyone. He admitted that he was a bad father and that she was too good a daughter, even though she was from another world. But he lived with her and wants to make her happy. He leaned against her and wished her happiness. The girl started to cry. The heroine asked who would rule the country, but he handed over the power to her. The emperor also said that he had been following the boys since childhood, and that they would be good support for her. One of them would become her husband. The boys couldn't leave him and shouted that they could help him. He said they had already tried hard enough. Dea took his hand and told him she would help him. Her father was very worried about her, but she was prepared. They would manage and survive. Cyril realized that she really seemed to be under the protection of avalanches. They began to seal the darkness. The darkness was greater than them, but this did not scare anyone. They turned the entire ball of darkness into ice. After this situation, Katie entered the girls' room and asked if she was awake. A month had already passed since the day they sealed the god. Everyone was in the ice and remembered nothing, but the ice also protected them. Katie was exhausted, but managed to recover. Dea and the emperor saved everyone. The emperor and Dea were at the ceremony, where he addressed Ivan and Faye. They were rewarded for their help in sealing Garjalk. Dea also thanked them for their help. Everyone was very happy, everything was fine. Cyril said that his daughter Dea helped them in the first place. Without her, the empire and the whole world would have perished. The emperor also said that someday he would betray the throne and Dea's country. In a few days, there will be banquets with foreign guests. The entire empire is celebrating. The crystal with Garthelk is kept in the dungeon behind several more seals. Faye wrote a letter to Dea telling her he wanted to meet her in the garden. But he hadn't arrived yet, and the girl was admiring nature. Suddenly, a tired Faye came running and apologized for the delay. He got straight to the point. There was something he wanted to tell her after the fight. He reminded her of the day they met. They laughed at the situation. Faye admitted that when he saw her fall from the sky, he thought she was a light fairy. From that day on, he was fascinated by her. He said very sincerely that he was happy even if she was only a friend, but he realized that he had to open up his feelings. Otherwise, he would regret it his whole life. He kissed her hand. Faye told Dea with a big smile that he loved her. There was that same book in the library. People loved how the emperor took care of his daughter. The girl walked past and remembered that the book seemed to have a bad ending, but the plot changed. The last time the handsome knight and mage didn't show up, the girl decided to reread the book. Dea was very embarrassed by what Faye confessed to her. She expressed her gratitude and asked him to give her time to think. As soon as he left, Dea blushed completely. She couldn't believe that Faye had confessed his love to her. She was surprised, but also delighted. Dad told her she would have to choose between Ada or Ivan. She was thinking of accepting Fairy's feelings when suddenly Ivan appeared and asked her if she was ready for the banquet. The embarrassed girl wanted to leave, but Ivan grabbed her. Ivan asked what happened, but he guessed that Faye confessed to her. But the boy told the knight about this even before the ceremony began. Faye doesn't want the title, he just wants to be close. Ivan asked why he was telling him this. But they were in the same situation, and he didn't want to act with bad intentions. Maybe he started treating her differently, not like a sister. Ivan admitted that he always saw her as a sister, but recently everything changed. He said that he was her sword. And whoever she chooses, he will still protect her. He asked her to at least allow him to love her. The boy left, and the heroine wondered what that was about. Her heart almost skipped a beat. She didn't know what to do. Dea went to the maids. She told Katie what happened and asked her not to tell anyone. The girl said that Faye and Ivan confessed their love to her. The maids were very happy for her that both confessed immediately. It was in different places, but she couldn't answer anyone. Faye seemed like an adult and calm person. He is also kind and always cares about Dea. Well, Ivan is energetic and cheerful. He doesn't blame her for mistakes. He is a man with a big soul. She couldn't decide when suddenly her dad appeared behind her and asked her to tell him more. Cyril said he heard the whole conversation and that they were too bold, that there was no need to answer them, and that he would talk to them himself. Faye and Ivan sat in front of the emperor, and it was clearly visible from their faces that they were very scared. Cyril asked if they really dared to propose marriage to Dea. Faye said they were only talking about their feelings and not proposing marriage. But for the emperor, it was the same thing. He said that if they wanted to marry Dea, they would have to defeat him first. The heroine tried to stop him, because he himself said that after his death, one of them would become her husband. But he hadn't died yet. There is no longer a bad ending to her story. Difficulties might await her, but everything will end well with Dad and the others. But still, it's not easy to be the daughter of the Ice Emperor. Thank you for your attention. This story is completely complete.